Right, good evening. Please take a seat. We want to start right on time so we can proceed quickly to the best part of the evening. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to this special evening celebrating Nelson Mandela. I'm Professor Giuseppe Gazzi. I'm really pleased and honored to be co-organizing this event together with our good friends Michel Raymond. And as a co-organizer of this event, and takes particular pride of having the opportunity of listening to what we define a titan of piano, Nikolay Khozyainov. So, Your Excellency, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général du Conseil économique des Églises, Monsieur les représentants des organisations internationales à Genève, Madame la Comtesse Bozena-Schmidt-Adamczyk, Maestro Khozyainov, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this evening. At the Université of Geneva, we are committed to promote excellence, and in particular in my domain, philanthropy, we really strive through research and teaching to bring the best tools to make philanthropy in the best possible way. Tonight, it's a wonderful occasion to see a perfect example of what philanthropy can achieve, promoting values such as inclusion, tolerance, and peace through this fantastic initiative, bringing the best way that we can actually promote these values through arts and cultures. Arts and culture are actually bring out the best in humans. They really reveal the peak that humans can reach. And tonight we have really the great pleasure of listening to one of the titans of this field, especially in music. With no further ado from my end, I would like to pass the stage to Michel Raymond, who's going to welcome you in French for you who are not speaking English. Thanks again for being with us tonight. Have a good evening.
Alors, merci professeur Giuseppe Gazio qui a fait cette introduction sympathique et bienvenue au concert de Nikolay Khozyainov en hommage à Nelson Mandela ce soir à l'Université de Genève en coopération avec de nombreux partenaires de la paix à Genève et internationalement. Vous l'avez remarqué, ce lieu n'est pas une salle de concert. C'est un auditoire, mais c'est en fait un changement de salle a eu lieu qui était indépendant de notre volonté. Mais le pianiste a quand même accepté de jouer dans cet auditoire et plus dans la belle salle Franz Liszt du Conservatoire de musique. Mais nous sommes vraiment très contents de pouvoir vous offrir cette soirée spéciale. Merci d'être venus si nombreux, malgré le changement de salle. Et maintenant, sans plus tarder, je vais passer la parole à Monsieur Rachmaninov, qui est le président de la Fédération pour la paix universelle, qui va nous adresser quelques mots en anglais, mais je vais pouvoir vous mettre son discours en français sur l'écran. Voilà, merci.
Good evening, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I represent the University and being part of the organizing committee for this event, I would like to express my deep appreciation for your presence tonight, and you're honoring the legacy of Nelson Mandela as a great peacemaker, but also as a fighter for justice, human rights, and human dignity. We're also honoring, that's the second part, the legacy of music as an expression of the most profound and illuminating aspect of human nature, and the opportunity to experience the greatness of human genius in a musical performance by the brilliant pianist Nikolay Khozyainov. He's actually offering his performance tonight to all of you. Just a word about the motivation. Just a word about the motivation of UPF in organizing this event. UPF is an NGO in general consultative status with the ECOSOC of the United Nations and with representations in 190 countries in the world. Nelson Mandela was and still is a great example for us on how to resolve a protracted and complex conflict through peaceful means rather than force and violent struggle. In this sense, I think this evening's theme fits well in the current, so very troubled world. Also, we from UPF have determined to learn from the example of great Nelson Mandela and to center peace efforts around the globe on a broader approach by bringing in the wisdom and great resources of the different faiths. As we could see in the last century, but also throughout human history, wounds created by violent escalations are very deep and can affect many successive generations. Successful peace efforts must therefore take into consideration the intergenerational and accumulated resentments caused by wars and violent conflicts, and must present concrete actions to heal these deep wounds. Great peacemakers like Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and of course Nelson Mandela have clearly understood that peace efforts by political means will not suffice to bring sustainable peace. There is a need for a new paradigm in peace building that takes all dimensions of the human condition into consideration. With this in mind, the UPF has been promoting since 2000 an interreligious council at the United Nations. It could be something like an upper house within the United Nations system, complementary to the political approach, but drawing upon the wisdom of religions and religious leaders to solve or better prevent violent struggle. In closing, Nelson Mandela saw the limits of politics and associated with religious and spiritual leaders to bring about an end to an unjust system, efforts that could have easily further escalated into widespread violence. Nelson Mandela's legacy is part of this new paradigm. Let us remember him in gratitude and push forward the changes necessary so that a new path forward can bring healing and a new resolve towards sustainable peace. With this, I wish you all a very enjoyable evening, and at this point, I would like to introduce our next speaker, which is, we are very honored, His Excellency Ambassador, Solisi Nkosi, sorry for the pronunciation. He's the permanent representative of the South African mission at Geneva to the United Nations. Your Excellency, we are very honored to have your presence here tonight. You have the floor. So we'll have him get the microphone.
Son Excellence l'ambassadeur d'Afrique du Sud va nous adresser quelques mots.
Well, thanks very much, Mr. Hanshin, President of, am I pronouncing that correctly? I will teach you how to pronounce my name.
Right, thank you.
But I'm not as good as in pronouncing yours. Mine has got clicks. It's a common vocal in the part of the world that I come from, actually in Southern Africa. Well, thanks very much, Mr. Hansen, President of the Universal Peace Federation. Dr. Pillay, my fellow countrymen, good to see you, and other dignitaries, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor to speak at this evening's occasion to commemorate the life and legacy of one of history's extraordinary human beings and shared global icon, President Nelson Mandela. Madiba, as he is affectionately known, was a man whose name had become synonymous with the pursuit of peace equality, and justice. 105 years since his birth, and 10 years after the world lost a true giant, we remember his life's dedication and service to humanity, which intersected with the principles of the landmark instrument that has indelibly shaped our shared commitment to advancing human rights, namely the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the UDHR, whose 75th anniversary indeed we mark this weekend. Madiba faced immense hardships and discrimination under apartheid South Africa. Despite this, he dedicated his life to the fight against racial discrimination, oppression, and inequality. His unwavering commitment to justice led to his imprisonment for 27 years. Yet, even behind bars, Madiba remained resolute in the peaceful pursuit of freedom and equality for all. Upon his release from prison, Madiba embarked on a remarkable journey of reconciliation that changed our history and steered South Africa away from the brink of civil war and towards a future of unity and peace. His leadership and ability to forgive and reconcile with those who had oppressed him are testaments to his unyielding belief in the power of compassion and forgiveness. He laid the foundation for a new era of democracy and inclusivity. His legacy extends beyond the borders of South Africa. His message of tolerance and understanding resonates across the globe, transcending cultural, racial, and religious beliefs. His life's works serves as an inspiration for all those who strive for a world where diversity is celebrated and all individuals are treated with dignity and respect. This legacy is especially important this evening, and particularly in today's world, where we see a growing violation of human rights, injustice, and inequality. Accordingly, we need to hold the international community accountable to its duty to protect and promote human rights everywhere without any double standards. As we honor Madiba's remarkable legacy, let us reaffirm our commitment to upholding his vision of a world where peace, equality, and justice prevail. Let us take inspiration from his unyielding dedication and continue the work of building a more inclusive and harmonious society. Nelson Mandela once said, I quote, "What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to live the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead." Close quote. As we walk together, we can take inspiration from the life and legacy of Madiba, who never lost the hope and determination to contribute to a better world. Let us carry forward his message of hope and continue to be the change that Madiba worked for and so deeply believed in. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you for your presence here, and apologies for the infrastructure that is a little bit inconvenient here, but we appreciate greatly your message and your important contribution. As our next speaker, I would like to introduce to you the Reverend Dr. Jerry Pillay, the 9th General Secretary of the World Council of Churches, also South African national. former professor of theology at the Pretoria University and pastor of the Uniting Presbyterian Church of South Africa. Dr. Pile,
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Anna, for the invitation to be part of this wonderful occasion. Your Excellency, nice to have you to share the stage with you today. That's a great honor for me as well. And greetings to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, I am honored today to join in this evening in remembering and celebrating the legacy of President Nelson Mandela as a peacemaker. Now, 10 years after his death and 30 years after he had received the Nobel Peace Prize. I was invited to the funeral service of the late Nelson Mandela and given the special honor to be present at the graveside when he was laid to rest. I stood in silence, absolute silence, and awe as I gave thanks to God for such a gift to South Africa and indeed to the world. It was indeed a moving, sad, and yet joyful moment for me as I celebrated the life and service of such a great man. Of course, we know Nelson Mandela as a freedom fighter, a political prisoner, an agent of apartheid's fall, and midwife to the birth of a new South Africa. He is, by all measure, a giant in the peacemaking pantheon, and a major force for good in the post-world strides toward freedom and justice. Nelson's Mandela record as a peacemaker includes his 27 years persevering as a prisoner on Robben Island, his leadership of the liberation struggle and the African National Congress, his skillful navigation of politics to negotiate an end to apartheid, his rise to the presidency and alliance with F.W. de Klerk in creating a national unity government, his setting up the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, his signing a new constitution, and his work as president to expand majority access to education and improve the common good. In his presidency between 1994 and 1998, and here's a real testament to a great man, he very well could have served another term, but he simply said, I am an old man, give some younger people a chance. He continued to labor for the betterment of his people based on democratic values and the ideal of social justice. His role as peacemaker and reconciler is what brought South Africans together. I remember how he spotted on the South African rugby, Springbok rugby shirt, and encouraged the team at the 1995 Rugby World Cup, and we won. He used sport to reconcile a very divided nation. Mandela sometimes is criticized, especially by black young South Africans today, who say that he made too much of compromises. But they often don't understand the context at that time and the effort to make peace, which averted what could have been a bloody revolution. In all this work, without question, Nelson Mandela was one of the most consequential figures in the last century. For Mandela, peace is not just the absence of conflict. Peace is the creation of an environment where all can flourish regardless of race, color, creed, religion, gender, class, caste, or any other social markers of difference. Mandela said, as was already said by the ambassador, what matters in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others. Today, Nelson Mandela remains for many of us a genuine hero, even an icon, a symbol of human freedom and the possibility for real social change and social justice. We can see his legacy in the continued struggles for liberation around the world, in the ongoing confrontation of racism and its effects, and in the aspirations of this generation for justice and peace. I am proud to say that the World Council of Churches stood with Nelson Mandela in that long road to freedom. At its fourth assembly held in 1968, the World Council of Churches committed itself fully to the worldwide struggle for civil rights, liberation from apartheid, and freedom from other forms of oppression. In ensuing years, and despite enormous controversy, the Council and its members, through a program to combat racism, took concrete steps against racism in Southern Africa and in support of the National African Congress. Small wonder then that after his release, Mandela journeyed to Geneva to express his personal gratitude to those who stood with him and with South Africans during the decades of solidarity. Later in 1998, as South Africa's president, Mandela addressed the 8th Assembly of the World Council of Churches in Harare, Zimbabwe. In his address, he praised the effort of churches in South Africa to end apartheid and paid tribute to the missionaries for bringing high standards of education to Africa, from which he benefited as a child himself. He said, "The church was as concerned with this world as the next. I saw that virtually all of the achievements of Africans seem to have come about through the missionary work of the church." End of quotation. As a South African, I recognize that our transformation remains unfinished, especially economic liberation. Despite the massive changes in South Africa, we experience enormous and persistent inequality, unacceptable levels of unemployment, shocking levels of violence, endemic corruption, and a younger generation hungry for opportunity, a life and a future. Genuine freedom in its fullest sense, still eludes us as we build our new nation. I was just 2 weeks ago in South Africa, and I delivered an address through the church to the nation, and one of the things I did ask for is that we will place before us the legacy of Nelson Mandela. Likewise, in so many ways around the world, we today face a different and more difficult landscape for the cause of just peace. We see a receding horizon for human rights, human dignity, real legal and economic equality, basic provisions for human needs, and justice for women, for children, and for the earth itself. Today we see disrespect for international humanitarian law and the protected interest of the poor, vulnerable, and voiceless. Mandela was constant in his plea for just peace, and he stood as an avid supporter of Palestine in this regard. I wonder what he would have said and done in the context of the current wars and conflicts all over the world. One thing is clear: Mandela would have spoken against wars and encouraged the powers that be to travel on the road of dialogue for just peace. In a world of violence, we need to realize that violence can never lead to justice and peace. In supporting peace, Mandela would have promoted the need for education. He once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." I believe that when we consider Nelson Mandela's legacy as a peacemaker, we must recognize some non-negotiable principles. That reconciliation is at the heart of peacemaking. That there can be no peace without justice. That human rights, the bedrock of the UN's Universal Declaration, are not a cultural bias or personal preference, but a foundational element in the preservation of human life and well-being on earth. That provision for basic human needs, best expressed in the Sustainable Development Goals, is a necessary precondition of peace. I think, too, we can identify other key elements in Mandela's approach to peacemaking that remain vital today. We learn from him that there is no indispensable element of personal witness, personal courage, and wholesale dedication to moral truth. That it provides the credibility and basis for deep dialogue and identifying core values that will make for conflict resolution, peace, and reconciliation. We can think of another Mandela principle as honest truth-telling, regardless of the political consequences. We cannot make peace if we cannot be fully honest with ourselves and with each other, he often said, or if we are constantly edging, then we will say, for fear of the reactions of others, of our enemies or allies, just to please them. I also believe that in our search for peace, exemplified in Mandela's life and work, faith is indispensable. By this I mean not a particular religious tradition or denomination, however vital. By faith I mean our trust that God and history will welcome and support our efforts toward peace, justice, and the well-being of all humankind. It is a faith shared with all persons of goodwill. We must have faith in our future. As Mandela told the WCC in Harare, whenever the noble ideals and values of religion have been joined with practical actions to realize them, it has strengthened us and at the same time nurtured those ideals within the liberation movement. That self-critical faith is today best and most effectively exemplified and practiced in nonviolence. I believe, as in Mandela's day, nonviolence remains the moral basis for peacemaking. As a philosopher, as a commitment, as a lifestyle, it has been the single most successful catalyst for social change in our lifetime. Our work for reconciliation begins with a deep commitment to nonviolence as a means for social change. I know that Nelson Mandela's larger-than-life reputation and influence will justly ensure his ongoing visibility, but it is his deep commitment to human dignity, his practice of reconciliation through nonviolence, and his sturdy faith in humanity's eventual triumph that will ensure his continued, even growing relevance of our new context. In a world riddled by violence and war, we need to hear afresh what it means to live in peace and harmony. Each of us has a role to play in this. Mandela said, "It is in your hands to make a better world for all who live in it." Instead of leaving a legacy, Mandela often spoke about living the legacy. May we live, encourage, and work for peace in the world with the same determination and passion that was found in Nelson Mandela. Let us live the legacy of peace, justice, and love in the world. I thank you.
Merci beaucoup pour ces paroles de la part du secrétaire général du Conseil œcuménique des Églises. Maintenant, j'invite Madame Bozena Schmidt, qui est la personne sans qui ce concert n'aurait pas lieu, une grande amie de la paix. Voilà, je vous demande de l'accueillir avec applaudissements.
Excellence, cher public, chers amis, la musique est un art privilégié qui permet de favoriser la communication, les échanges culturels et qui peut promouvoir des liens entre les divers mondes. Seul un artiste de génie au talent incontestable et mondialement reconnu est en mesure de remplir ce rôle exceptionnel de la musique. Maestro Nikolay Khozyainov, citoyen du monde, à la réputation internationale incontestée, s'est produit sur tous les continents depuis son plus jeune âge. Son talent et sa passion pour la musique l'ont amené à remporter de premiers prix dans les nombreux concours internationaux. Nikolay Khozyainov a débuté sa carrière à l'âge de 5 ans, où certains musiciens commencent seulement à apprendre le solfège, n'est-ce pas? Donc à 5 ans, il a déjà joué avec l'Orchestre Philharmonique de Moscou. À l'âge de 7 ans, il fait ses débuts à Munich, Francfort et d'autres lieux en Allemagne. Et à l'âge de 9 ans, il donne un incroyable concert avec un immense succès au théâtre des Champs-Élysées à Paris. À l'âge de 16 ans, il fait la tournée des concerts aux États-Unis. À l'âge de 17 ans, il a donné un récital dans la salle des Assemblées nationales des Nations Unies, dans la plus grande salle. Et depuis lors, il jouit d'une popularité ininterrompue et continue de voyager et de se produire dans les salles les plus prestigieuses du monde. Maestro Nikolay Khozyainov a été honoré par de nombreux chefs d'État. Il a été nommé chevalier commandeur par le roi d'Espagne en 2022. Maestro a été décoré notamment par l'empereur Akihito et l'impératrice Michiko du Japon à son concert à Santoriol à Tokyo. En 2022, Nations Unies ont commandé à Nikolay Khozyainov de composer une pièce pour son grand concert dédié à la paix. Maestro a donné la première mondiale de sa composition, Pétale de la paix, lors de son concert à la Salle des droits de l'homme des Nations Unies en novembre 2022. Maestro Nikolay Khozyainov a été décoré de la médaille d'or de la paix des Nations Unies. C'est une personnalité qui a œuvré et qui s'est consacré beaucoup par son talent pour la paix. Nikolay Khozyainov est également un chef d'orchestre, bien sûr un compositeur et un impressionnant improvisateur. Sa musique vient de son cœur et de son âme. Selon ses propres termes, son monde est celui de la musique classique, où règne l'harmonie et la beauté. Nous savons très bien que toutes les autres musiques, c'est la mode. Ils passent, on les oublie. La musique classique reste pour toujours. Dans le programme de ce soir, Maestro va jouer les œuvres de Rachmaninov, Chopin, Stravinsky, et Maestro Nikolay Khozyainov va interpréter ses propres compositions, et c'est un privilège de ce soir très particulier. Pétale de la paix est une pièce créée spécialement pour l'occasion de son concert aux Nations Unies. Il est le seul compositeur actuel qui a composé pour la paix. Maestro, avec sa musique, nous emmènera au-delà de la réalité avec le message que la musique est une force et son pouvoir de transcender les frontières et de rassembler les peuples est réellement possible. Les amis de Nikolay Khozyainov et son président d'honneur Hervé Aron, les membres d'honneur et nommés scène qui souhaitent rester anonymes sont présents ce soir et je tiens à remercier de leur présence. Et je remercie à tous ceux qui ont collaboré à la réussite de cette soirée et en particulier, avant tout, M. Michel Raymond. J'aimerais quand même vous annoncer à cette occasion aujourd'hui que il est très demandé par les autorités de la ville de Genève et toutes sortes de personnalités, et son concert est déjà prévu 5 juin 2024 à Victoria Hall de Genève. Donc vous êtes bienvenus. Merci. Maestro va partager de merveilleux moments musicaux avec nous ce soir, dans le monde de la passion, de la beauté et de la paix. Alors maintenant, bien sûr, le plus important, c'est la musique pour nous unir tous pour la paix. Merci.
Rachmaninov, Prélude. moment musical. avec Chopin, ballade en fa mineur numéro 4. composition Pétale de la paix. répétition, marche. Trois mouvements du ballet Petrouchka. Rachmaninov. Prélude.